Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. Thank you, Congressman Swalwell. I appreciate the chance to address the committee on this today. I heard a lot of comments this morning. Negligent homicide, perhaps a military strike in Central America are two of the things I've heard. I'm not ready to go there, I must say, and I hope the United States isn't there either. I think, Mr. Beer, I appreciate your testimony. I'll come back to you in a moment. But one point I wanted to make initially, and with the chart here behind me, is that there are things we can do short of military options or, trying to prosecute the secretary for negligent homicide. And the Democrats have already taken steps to do that. So with respect to the omnibus bill, which is behind me, it's in the blue chart, you can see it up on the monitor. Those are the amounts that we passed last Congress. I wasn't here yet, but that was an omnibus bill. And I say we, based on Democrats, we had 216 Democrats voted for this bill. Only 9 Republicans joined in. I don't think any of them are on this committee. 200 Republicans voted against it. So the talk we're hearing about the things that need to happen and get done, part of that goes to the need to have resources to address it, like more border agents, for example. Mr. Correa talked about the need for surveillance at the border, the ability to check vehicles as they come across ports of entry. And as Mr. Beal, as your testimony points out, I think it's like 86% of the fentanyl and narcotics come across through points of entry as opposed to the other border areas. So why don't we focus on that? Well, the bill we passed helps to do that. And we can go through all of these. I'm short on time, but the point I want to make is on the left side, under the blue, is the money that was passed in the omnibus bill, primarily by Democratic votes. The red side is the Republican legislation that's been offered. I just mentioned most Republicans voted against the omnibus bill that passed last year and is actually sending resources to the border to help address many of these issues. And I know the Biden administration has said that more is going to come when the budget proposal comes out on March 9th. Under the red, though, as you can see, is goose eggs all the way down the page. And that comes from H.R. 29, which was supposedly the Republican leadership bill on addressing this issue. And just for those of you that don't know, the leadership bills are supposed to be statements of that party's focus. These are top priority bills. We need to pass these things to address the key problems facing the American people. And so I picked H.R. 29 because that was designated by House Republicans. We looked at other bills too, and they haven't put out any money for that either that we can find. But I thought H.R. 29 was representative, and they call it the Border Safety and Security Act of 2023. They put up no funds for any of the types of things in the programs you all are talking about are challenges. I know you have different views about what the cause of the problems are and all of that, but I think almost all of them require additional resources. So, from that old movie, I forget, Jerry Maguire, I think it was, Show Me the Money. Your budget shows your priorities. The budget priorities stated by the Republican caucus so far is that they want to talk about, let me get this right, prosecuting Mr. Mayorkas for negligent homicide. They want to talk about removing Mr. Mayorkas from office, but fixing the border crisis, which what I thought this hearing was going to be about. We don't get much conversation about that. Mr. Beer, I've only got a minute. Let me come to you quickly. We just talked a moment ago about the 86% of U.S. citizens are actually carrying the fentanyl across the border. Is that right?
That's right, in 2021.
That's on page 7 of his testimony. By the way, your testimony had 115 footnotes. So in contrast to a lot of the episodic and that kind of stuff, your testimony is clearly documented with data, which I think is an important way to figure out what sort of policies we should be enacting. 93% of the fentanyl that was seized came through ports of entry. Is that correct?
That's right.
With respect to the legalization, you were accused of wanting to legalize fentanyl. I didn't see that in anything you wrote. I did see you talk about legalizing fentanyl test strips. Is that part of what you're talking about?
That's right. Legalizing test strips would enable drug users to make sure that they are not taking fentanyl, which would have prevented the deaths that we're hearing about today.
Yeah, by the way, we've had some of those deaths in Maryland. We're not on the border, but Prince George's County, where I'm from, Montgomery County, Mr. Trone and I put a bill together to address that in part. I support it. I believe it's a bipartisan bill. Hopefully the Republicans on the committee will support that as well. I see I've run out of my time. I'll come back, though. I want to talk to you about the impact of what you've seen in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua from an immigration standpoint, and the change in the legislation that really addressed the problem there in the ways that you're talking about.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I yield
Time
the
has
balance.
expired. I now recognize Ms. Green from Georgia.